Hello everyone, welcome back to our economic analysis series. So far we have done 3 parts of the economic analysis. Today we are taking the economic survey continuation. Today we are looking at the part 4, that is chapter number 4. ये जो chapter है ये exam specific chapter है. This topic you must be familiar with the previous year questions and all. This topic deals with the price level, what we call inflation, right? So ये जो topic है, this is a short topic given in economic survey, about 16 pages, not much, right? So now let's first start with the basic concept of inflation. For those who are not familiar, I just give a very brief explanation about what is concept of inflation. Now generally what is inflation? We say that inflation is a condition where the average price is increasing. Normally हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, जब 1 या 2 कमोडिटी का प्राइस बढ़ता है, लाइक समझ लो पेट्रोल का प्राइस बढ़ गया, कैन यू कॉल दैट इन्फ्लेशन? नो, दैट इज नॉट इन्फ्लेशन. इन्फ्लेशन इज व्हेन ऑन एन एवरेज मेनी कमोडिटीज या मेनी सर्विसेज इनका प्राइस बढ़ता है, देन इट इज कॉल्ड सिचुएशन ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन. देयरफॉर इन इकोनॉमिक्स नॉर्मली हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में भी वही यूज किया जाता है. वी से दैट एवरेज प्राइस जब बढ़ता है, that is the condition of inflation. So we say that inflation generally is a persistent increase. That means what? Continuously when prices keep on rising, then that is called the situation of inflation. So inflation may we consider both the product goods, right, all the manufactured goods or any agricultural goods, industrial goods, all that, plus we consider what we call services. Clear? But WPI, that is the wholesale price index, considers only goods. The consumer price index, what we call CPI, considers both goods and services. Okay, so that is the type of question also asked in UPSC prelims recently. Now economic survey, what they have done, they try to analyze global inflation and also they try to provide a contrast analysis to Indian inflation. Okay, so let's look at both. Now what does the economic survey say? Globally the inflation was rather high at if you look at here 8.7%. that was the global inflation, that is in 2022. Then gradually inflation came down globally to 5.7% in 2024. Now the point is, at the same time what happened to India? Okay, so here is the diagram. They have given the analysis. Okay, so they have given for UK, Germany, Philippines, Indonesia, China, etc. Some select countries they have given. That is the headline inflation. Okay, it was 6.3, 3.9, 2.9. Some analysis they are trying to say that inflation was going downwards globally, right? But what happened to India? Inflation remained rather high in India. Therefore RBI kept the monetary policy rates very tight in the last 2 years. Now generally, just for those who are not familiar with the inflation concepts, I am just giving a very brief again introduction to how we measure inflation in India. Normally we have 2 major measurement. One is called wholesale price index, what we call WPI, which considers, as I told already, only goods. The other side we have a CPI, consumer price index, which considers both goods plus services, right? Now ये जो CPI है, this is very important. Why? Because RBI keeps a track of which one? RBI keeps a track of CPI, that also this one, CPI combined. The RBI does not keep a track of WPI for monetary policy, yeah, inflation target, etc. Clear? So some basics you should be very clear for exam preparation. Okay, so now this is the basic. How do we measure inflation in India? We have one side WPI, one side CPI. Now generally in our analysis economic survey, mostly what we found is the analysis of CPI. They have not given much about the WPI in detail. Okay, so let's look at here. Now retail inflation, that is what we call CPI. Now what happened to Indian context? How was the CPI inflation? In India, the retail inflation, it moderated, means came down from 5.4% in 2023-24. It came down to 4.9% in 2024-25, right? But if you see, India may inflation target is 4%. Okay, in the class also I explained to you, 4% plus minus 2 is the target in India, but actual target is 4. If it goes up, it can go to 6. If it goes down, it can go up to 2. But if you see, inflation was above the target. Because our target is 4, it was 4.9%. So the RBI had to really little bit keep a track of inflation and tighten the monetary policy. Matlab they were following, as I told earlier also, dear money policy. Clear? Now, in the consumer inflation CPI basket mein, food items are also equally important. Why? According to economic survey, food items contribute about 2/5 of the consumer price index in India. इसका मतलब क्या है? If consumer price index CPI का inflation बढ़ रहा है, there could be a main reason increase in food item का inflation, because it contributes quite a bit. Whereas at WPI, the major contributor is the manufactured products. Now, when we talk about headline inflation, what's the meaning of headline? We say that, retail inflation, that is the headline inflation, etc. We need to understand now two concepts. Okay, one is called headline inflation, other one isko hum kya bolte hain? Core inflation. So we have two concepts, headline and core inflation. What is the meaning of headline inflation? Headline ka meaning simple hai. When you consider inflation, for example, suppose if you are considering the wholesale price index, there are 697 items are there. If you consider all the items and take the average price, that is called headline. What is core inflation? From the headline, we have to minus certain items which constantly go up and down, like fluctuating item. Which are they? The fluctuating items are this one, like fruits, vegetable, generally what we call them food items, which keep on fluctuating. Then fuel and energy items like petroleum, gas, etc. Now these items are what we call fluctuating item. तो हम लोग normally core के लिए क्या करते हैं? From the headline you minus this fluctuating item, the leftover, उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? Core inflation, right? तो इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में आपको दोनों दिया है, हेडलाइन, कोर, सब एनालिसिस दिया है, right? So let's try to now understand the headline and the core inflation. Now if you see here, the headline inflation measured by the same CPI, that is what we call the consumer price index, it moderated, okay, in 2024-25 compared to 23-24, because there was a decrease in inflation last year compared to the previous year. That is the economic survey का main statement. Now ये जो inflation कम हो गया, why it reduced? Basically because also inflation, there was a core inflation में थोड़ा सा कम हो गया, there was a drop by 0.9%. That means what? The non fluctuating item जो है उसका inflation थोड़ा कम हो गया, इसमें overall inflation भी थोड़ा कम हो गया. ठीक है? That is the basic analysis given in economic survey. Now let's look at the diagram here. It will help you to visualize what is the situation of India. Now look at this green color. This is the CPI. So this is the consumer price index, right? So the CPI price index is fluctuating little bit here and there. So this is the February 24, April 24, June 24, etc., etc. till December they have given. This is 2023, right? So if you see in 24, it rather went little bit down, then little bit up and then going down. Now the same time you look at the core inflation, that is a non-fluctuating item. The core inflation marked by this has been on the lower side. Therefore, they are saying overall inflation also came down because of the core inflation being lower. This is the WPI inflation. Okay, so the WPI inflation is going like this. It is lower than the consumer price index. Why? Consumer price index is high. Why? Because of food items, which create a lot of inflation. Okay, so now let's look at here, right? Coming to the why inflation was high in India, according to economic survey, one of the factors for high inflation is the food inflation. So the food item ka price began to create more inflation and it affected the overall inflation. So if you see the statement given in economic survey, in the last 2 years, food inflation in India remained firm. That means what? It was not going down. It was consistently rather high last 2 years. Okay, whereas globally, but rest of the countries, it was actually declining. But in India, it was not going down. So the question is why? Why food inflation India में ज़्यादा था, right? So economic survey क्या बोलता है? There was a production in supply chain. That means what? Basically there was a problem in the production of these food grains. So some problems faced in the supply chain. It affected. Why? Because of extreme weather condition. What do we call climate change या weather change, जिसके वजह से inflation का भी effect we could feel last few years. Now if you see here, food inflation basically कहाँ से हुआ food inflation? So if you see, this is 2024 and this is 2025. Mostly inflation हमें कहाँ दिखाई दे रहा है? Vegetables में. You see inflation this much is rather high, right? Pulses, okay, pulses 24 में ज़्यादा है, 25 में थोड़ा कम है. Cereals also 24 में ज़्यादा है, 25 में कम है. But fruits if you see 2025 में ज़्यादा है. So vegetables and fruits created some kind of a problem. Also meat and fish, there was a issue, right? So two main things are this one, vegetables and fruits, which created or contributed to inflation in 2025. Okay, therefore economic survey clearly says that inflation increased. Yes, the one of the factor या culprit is also the food inflation. Clear now? Now why this food inflation? So analysis में economic survey हमें क्या बताता है? There is a problem with the uneven monsoon. So the monsoon was not timely and it is affected, and also we faced what we can say production problem because of heat wave, etc. Right? So as a result, what happened? The effect was on production of tomatoes and the production of onion. Now these are the two major crops which economic survey ने highlight किया है, okay, as a problematic area. So if you look at here, the headline inflation, okay, dot line, if you see here, this is the headline inflation. ये जो headline inflation है, ये suddenly इधर ऊपर गया है, isn't it? But the same headline, if you remove the tomato, onion and potato, you see it is rather low. That means this gap is created by tomato, onion and potato. So basically tomato and onion created this much extra inflation. That's what they are trying to show, right? Now if you leave the vegetables and pulses in general, the inflation is still lower. So economic survey talks about three things. One is the increase in price of tomato, second is onion, and third one is tur dal. That means the pulses category mein tur dal they talked about it, right? So these things, that is the food inflation, has actually created what we can say overall inflation also in the country. Now economic survey tries to analyze how the climate change has affected production, that means supply. Okay, so in the class I explained to you, inflation can be caused by demand also, supply also. Now there more analysis on the supply side. So the causes are not demand side more, but causes are more on the supply side. Now let's look at here. What does the government try to say? There is a problem what we call heat waves experienced in India. Because of this heat wave, it affected the crop area, that means the area used for cultivating. Now look at the heat wave. 2022 May, about 75 days we experienced heat wave. 23 May, 42 days, and 2024 May, 76 days we experienced heat wave. As a result of this heat wave, it affected the crop area. Okay, now look at here, 2024 May, huge area, how much? More than 3 million hectare. More than 3 million hectare crop area was affected because of this, extreme weather condition, uneven monsoon, etc. As a result, what happened? Production of onion and tomato, the TOP, top products we call it, tomato, onion, potato. They were affected. Mostly government talked about tomato and onion, not much about potato. Okay. Now let's look at here. This is the map created by Economic Survey. I have not made this map. It is made by Economic Survey. I am just trying to highlight to you what is the analysis. Now this map I found to be rather interesting. Also you should learn for prelims point of view. Which are the states where they are producing tomato and onion? So if you see here, Rajasthan mein, this is mostly O. O means onion. And here Gujarat mein tomato and onion, MP tomato and onion, Maharashtra tomato and onion, Karnataka mostly onion, and here Andhra Pradesh we have a tomato and onion, and little above Andhra, Odisha mein we have mostly tomato. Now keep this in mind, these states which are producing. Now look at here. In the same states what happened? Heat wave was also experienced, right? This red color is the extreme heat they faced, that also more than 30 days. Little bit brown, here we have Maharashtra and all, 20 to 30 days, almost a month, 20 to 30 days is almost a month of heat wave. It really affects the crop. Crop can die, crop can be burnt, a lot of problems are there. So now what the basic thing government is trying to say, these tomato and onion producing states, they came under heat wave conditions, okay, and they were rather affected. Our northeast is fully green, less than 10 days or equal to a little more than 10 days, not much, but still in Assam also we experienced a lot of heat. Our schools were also given holidays those days, few days, right? Now what happened? This analysis basically shows that climate change or weather change, monsoon uneven, these things have affected our production of agricultural crops. Mostly the analysis is shown for tomato and onion, right? So now government kya bolta hai? Onions are grown in the Kharif season as also Rabi season. So now which season more onions are grown? Kharif or Rabi? Answer is Rabi season, where we have 70% around onions are grown in Rabi season, right? Same way, if you look at the price also. Now as I told you, tomato and onion, two major crops government discussed. Now you see tomato price, okay, tomato price normally according to Economic Survey कब बढ़ता है? It increases from July to September. This is season is what we call lean season, मतलब less production. So which is the lean season for tomato? July to September. That is when tomato price starts to go up. Clear? Similarly, you look at onion. Onion price starts to go up when October to December, that is again lean season. Lean season means where we have less production, okay, not much of production. So these two items, tomato and onion, prices increasing, one from July to September, immediately October to December. That means what? From July to December, either we suffer from high tomato price, yeah, high onion price. Getting the idea? So what happened as a result? Food inflation in India in the last 2 years remained rather high, which contributed to overall inflation. That is what economic survey provides analysis. Now, as I told already, if you see, onion is produced in Kharif season only 30%, but Rabi season mostly 70%. Tomato also Kharif season 33%, Rabi season 67%. This is the actual table given in economic survey. That is the latest one, 24-25. Okay, this kind of things also prelims के point of view में आ सकता है, because this time inflation analysis in economic survey large part is kept only for tomato onion का discussion. The third aspect element I told you, which also created inflation, that is the tur dal, right? So the economic survey clearly says, in addition to tomato and onion, tur dal also contributed to food inflation, right? So the deficit in tur dal in 2022-23, 2023-24 led to high price pressure in tur dal according to economic survey. So three major items we can say जो जिसके वजह से inflation बढ़ा है, tomato, onion and tur dal. Prelims के point of view में you can keep that in mind. तो अभी what measures were taken by government to deal with high inflation? So government ने क्या किया? Stock limit को बढ़ा दिया so that they increase the thing. Plus government also sold products in the market, like they sold wheat and rice to control the price level. And sale of wheat, flour, rice under the Bharat brand, government itself sold in the market so that price can be controlled. Coming to pulses, government also sold chana dal, moong dal, masoor dal under the same Bharat brand. Okay. Then the stock limits on tur and desi chana, okay, they controlled it, okay, so that people can supply more, and they allowed a duty-free import, okay, so that there will be enough of supply of this thing, because actually we had a problem of supply, not so much demand, right? Keep that in mind. Coming to vegetable, culprit for food inflation, okay, government put a ban on export of onion because onion price were going up. And also government also sold onion at a lesser price, 35 rupees kilo, and the government sold tomato at 65 rupees per kilo. Now you see, government ka price itself was 65 rupees a kilo. That imagine how it was difficult for the 𝗕𝗓𝗦𝗓 to purchase this onion, tomato, etc. So the economic survey ka analysis is very clear. Last 2 years, India has experienced inflation. Globally, inflation was little lower, and Indian inflation basically was caused by food inflation. And food inflation, they identified three major items: tomato, onion and tur dal, because of which inflation was rather high. Clear? This is the basic analysis given by economic survey. Now what is the outlook for upcoming year? Okay, that is 25-26. So if you look at here, according to the what we can say RBI ka analysis, inflation will be 4.2% in 25-26. That's what they are expecting. But IMF has even said less, 4.1%. But we are assuming that the monsoon will be normal. Again, if it becomes uneven and climate change ka effect, again problem might continue this year, starting from April, that is 25-26. So as of now, inflation might come back to the normal 4.2, 4.1, that is close to the target of 4%, but possibly it can also go up. And remember, India ka inflation target is 4%. Still RBI says it might be 4.2, but IMF says 4.1. Anyway, both these are closer to target of 4%. Clear? So this is a simple analysis. Okay. So the forecast is given for the upcoming year 25-26. Okay. So you can just keep that in mind. Okay, so inflation is not expected to go out of control, so to say. It might be remaining within the target. Done. So for any further query or any information you require, you can contact Bhadra IAS Academy at 8638391721. Okay, we will continue our analysis of the economic survey. Every video I am taking one chapter so that it's easier. If the chapter is very small, in the upcoming videos I might combine two, right? So far we have done the major ones: GDP, monetary policy, balance of payment, etc. Today we have done with the inflation. The other one more major topic exam point of view is the fiscal policy from the economic survey. We will soon analyze that also. Right? So you keep following all our economic survey video. Budget videos are already made and available. You can keep a track. So till the next video, you go through the inflation chapter. Things will be easier. Okay then, thank you and see you in the next video.